or meditation. Our teacher this week is Swami Vivekananda, and our theme for this morning is surrender. I've got a couple of quotes to share with you from Swami Vivekananda, and then we'll recap them again and kind of point out where surrender lies in each of these quotes. Right, the first one, let me just say hello to Melody, good morning, it's awesome seeing you. Right, the first one from Swami Vivekananda says, the whole secret of existence is to have no fear. Never fear what will become of you. They're all really short quotes, so we'll get through them quickly and then recap them again. The next one by Swami Vivekananda this morning says, that man has reached immortality who is disturbed by nothing material. Estelle, good morning. Sunmari, good morning. Really good seeing you all. Next quote by Swami Vivekananda says, never think that there is anything impossible for the soul. I repeat that. Never think that there is anything impossible for the soul. It is the greatest heresy to think so. If there is a sin, then this is the only sin, to think that you are weak or that others are weak. And one last thought from Swami Vivekananda before we recap them. He says, in a conflict between the head and the brain, in a conflict between the heart and the brain, follow your heart. In a conflict between the heart and the brain, follow your heart. So how do every one of these quotes speak about surrender? Hey Charlene, good morning. Good to see you. The first quote said, the whole secret of existence is to have no fear. Never fear what will become of you. Does it sound a little bit like surrender? It's a difficult one to do. Practically, it's difficult to find that space where you have absolutely no fear of what will become of you. But just take a moment and see what that says about surrender. Are you able to surrender to the point of not having any fear of what will become of you? The next quote says, that man has reached immortality who is disturbed by nothing material. That's another side effect of surrender, being disturbed by nothing material. This could be material things, material possessions, or also by what's happening in our environment and the world around us. Simply not being disturbed by anything material. Leshna, good morning. It's good to see you. Then this first sentence, never think that there is anything impossible for the soul. I love how he says that. Never think that there is anything impossible for the soul. In a space of surrender, when we are really surrendered, what are we surrendering to? My sense of this always is that I'm surrendering to my soul. I'm surrendering to what it is that I really am. I'm letting my being take control. Never think that there is anything impossible for the soul. There's no superior soul and inferior soul. We all have divine souls, and there's just nothing impossible for your soul. It is the greatest heresy to think so, and if there is a sin, then this is the only sin, to say that you are weak. One last time, and then we'll get started. He says, in a conflict between the heart and the brain, always follow your heart. Because that is the space of surrender. Surrender feels like it needs us to drop from our head down into our hearts. It feels like if we could physically describe what the process of surrender would be, it is jumping from this overthinking mind into the heart that is better at taking a little bit more time, feeling things out. We really can find a more solid direction, a more, I would say unfickle. Is that a word? Can we call it unfickle? Our mind can easily be fickle. Our heart is not. In a conflict between the heart and the brain, follow your heart. That is the process of surrender. So if you're ready, let's jump into today's journey and see if there's anything new we can discover about surrender. If you're ready, you can close your eyes and let's float away. Starting with the first few big breaths. Let's take a deep breath in and out. A deep breath in and out. A deep inhale and let it go. Deep breath in and out. One more big breath in and let it all flow away. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose gets drawn all the way deep down into your belly. And as you fill your belly with air, also stretch out your spine and at the top of your head closer to the ceiling. Once you've reached your full height, let all of it go. As you exhale, soften. Soften your spine, slump down your shoulders, and even drop your head. As you soften, as you guide your body to softness, feel the effect on your nervous system. And while our journey today is about surrender, I want to start with what is the opposite of surrender. The opposite of surrender is resistance. And as you continue to soften, as you continue your full body breathing, exhale, leading your body to softness, I want to remind you of what resistance is. While you continue to breathe, imagine a light bulb, especially an older kind of light bulb, the ones we all grew up with. Inside of this glass sphere, there is a tiny wire. That tiny wire lights up the whole room. I want to remind you of how that works, why that works. Why does a tiny wire light up the whole room? It is because of its internal resistance. Now, in the case of the light, it's a good thing. But what happens is that the metal of this tiny wire literally tries to resist the flow of electricity through it. And while it tries hard to resist electricity flowing through it, that creates a lot of friction. That creates a lot of heat. And it starts to glow so much that it lights up the room. Again, great in a light bulb, but is it great inside of you? One more example. Don't forget to breathe, big breaths, and soften as you exhale. I want you to imagine a traditional stove top in the kitchen, spiral plates. Turning the power on full and watching this spiral turn red. It is the same process. The metal that the spiral is made of is trying really hard to resist this huge flow of electricity. It really doesn't want the electricity to flow. And that is why it heats up. It becomes hotter and hotter until it glows. And it is so hot that you can boil a pot of water on the resistance of this metal. Think of electrical wiring with its plastic or rubber insulation, colorful electrical wiring. And I want to remind you what happens when those wires become hot. When those wires heat up due to too much resistance, the insulation starts becoming brittle. The beautiful colored plastic and rubber insulation starts failing. It becomes frayed and it starts exposing electrical wires, and short circuits start happening. And that's what happens in any electrical system that heats up because of too much resistance. Imagine for a moment your nervous system. It's very similar to electrical wiring. And in this regard too much resistance in our system creates heat. And it is almost scientifically accurate to say that the resistance and continued resistance in our nervous system leads to a similar fraying of the insulation. In this case called the myelin sheath of your nervous system. It wears thinner and thinner the more resistance we have in our system. The more heat is generated inside of our nervous system. As we take the last few big breaths of this phase together, as you allow your body to soften and settle down, remind yourself of what softening does for your nervous system. It moves it away from the resistance. It moves it away from being overheated and becoming frayed. Let's take a deep breath in As you release and soften, drop your head forward and roll out your neck muscles. Take a deep breath in. As you release and your body softens, roll your shoulders forward. Big circles, nice and slow. Take a deep breath in. As you release and soften, roll your shoulders backwards. Take a deep breath in. And as you release and soften, focus on your spine. One more big breath in. And as you release and soften, you can stretch, move, adjust any part of your body that still needs a bit of help settling down. From this beautiful space of presence, we can turn inwards and dive deep inside for the next part of our journey. With every next inhale, we'll hold our breath for a few short moments, followed by a long, slow exhale. Let's take a deep breath in. And hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in. And hold. As you release, feel every muscle in your body and feel how it softens. One more big breath in. And hold. And as you release, feel yourself melting. Feel your body dissolving. Feel yourself slipping into a deeper level of surrender with every slow exhale. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose is an invitation. It invites you to turn inwards and follow. As you breathe in through your nose, feel the air flow in through your nostrils. Feel the air touch the back of your throat. Stay with your breath as it flows in through your lungs. And as you fill up the balloon inside your belly, feel yourself slip all the way in. A few moments of holding your breath is a few moments of spending intimate time with you, you really holding you. Hold your breath only for as long as it feels really comfortable, while your breath holding feels like a warm hug, and follow it by a long, slow exhale. With your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, come home to that warm hug. Take your next big breath. I want you to imagine yourself standing in a pond, half your body submerged underwater, the top half of your body above the water. And remind yourself of what we so often do when we are in resistance. Our fear around what is happening, what might be happening, often causes us to flail around trying to do things in this pond of ours. With your next big breath, you dive deep into you. Remind yourself of what your pond looks like when you are in resistance, when you are flailing about and causing a storm in your pond. Take your next big breath. As you take your next big breath, I want you to try and see through this stormy pond. Try and see through to the bottom. Of course, it doesn't work because the storm in our pond has stirred up all of the dirt, all of the silt. The pond has become really murky and it's impossible to see the bottom because the water just is not clear. As you take your next big breath, as you dive deep inside, remind yourself of what this lack of clarity feels like. It feels even more scary. It creates even more fear. And often in more fear, we splash even more. Take your next big breath. then look down at the surface of the storm in your pond, the choppy water, the waves on the surface. And try and see your own reflection in these waves. What does it look like when you look down at your reflection while there is a storm in your pond? The surface is broken, and it makes your image also seem broken. When you're in that fear state, when you're in that fear space, and you look down, you are met with the most inaccurate picture of who you are. A broken, fractured image. But in the fear of the moment, in the grip of the storm in our pond, it is so easy to believe that this image is who I am. Take your next big breath. Take a step backwards, stepping out of your pond, standing on the side, just looking, just witnessing, just observing. With your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, take the time to see how the water changes now that you're not splashing anymore, now that you're standing and witnessing. Take your next big breath. When we face and deal with and sit with the things inside of us that are upset, when we stop turning away from the things inside of us that disturb us, or when we sit with these things and become a witness and allow them to speak while we just observe, we have a similar thing happening. As we observe and allow the water to settle, slowly we can start seeing the bottom of this pond again. The water is clear. There is a clarity. With your next big breath as you dive deep into you, watch how the water slowly clears. Take your next big breath. notice the surface. The surface of this calm pond becomes smooth as a mirror. And now, while the storm is over, and you look down at your reflection in this pond, the image is completely different, and also a lot more true. Take your next big breath. Lesson that surrender teaches us is not that we never take action. It is not that we're always passive. The lesson that surrender teaches us is that it always leads to clarity. It always brings us to a place where we can see. Do the last few big breaths of this phase together, slipping out of the breath holding space and into the next. Let's take a deep breath in and hold, as you release. Get a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, invite softness into every fiber of your being. One more big breath in. And hold. As you release, feel yourself slip all the way through. There is no more attention on your breathing. You can sit all the way back, lie all the way back down, and feel yourself just floating. It is so easy to resist the thought of surrender. Because surrender sometimes, when we don't get it yet, surrender sometimes feels like I'm allowing the things that happen to just control me. It could easily feel like things are happening and I'm just allowing them to dictate what I do. But in fighting and always fighting and constantly fighting the things that are happening, then I am constantly being controlled by what happens. What happens is always causing me to fight, and it seems as though I have no choice. I am being controlled by what is happening. I'm always fighting. Surrender is a process of being okay with what is happening, not resisting what is happening. And then the next slightly deeper level is, I can be okay, whatever's happening. I can be calm, doesn't matter what's happening. And I can actually be happy, no matter what's happening. When we are allowing whatever is happening to sit with us, we always move to a space. We get moved into the space beyond what is happening, so that we can really see with clarity. And now our options become more. In resistance, our options are, do I run or do I fight? And in surrender, our options become more. It might be clear that a friendly word solves the problem much better than running or fighting would. It might be that actually I can see that just doing nothing is what's required. I have no control, can't control the outcome. Letting things be is the answer. But surrender does not take running or fighting off of the table. Sometimes fighting is the answer. Sometimes running and leaving a situation behind you is the answer. But in the space of surrender, we can see it as the best option. Rather than a knee-jerk reaction that means while we're trying to resist, we really are just controlled by our environment if we are always fighting. Thanks for being on our journey. Thank you for allowing yourself to step out of your stormy pond and be reminded that your true nature is calm, still, and clear. We've got the last 5 breaths of gratitude to do together. With every exhale, I'll say my thank you, and you're invited to do the same. Let's take a deep breath in. Thank you for this clear picture of my pond. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for seeing, recognizing so clearly what happens every time I am in resistance. Every time I start splashing in my pond. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for also seeing so clearly what happens when I step out. When I allow the water to settle. How much more clearly I can direct my actions once I see clearly. Another deep breath in. And thank you especially for my patience with myself. As I do sometimes find myself splashing away again. When I realize I am splashing, I can attack myself, probably create more fear and just more splashing. Or I can recognize my splashing and with kindness remind myself to just get out. It is a process, it's a journey. One more big breath in. Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you for being in our pond with us. Good morning, Laura and Michelle and Nella. It's good to see you here as well. Be kind with yourself, be gentle with yourself. We tend to have to learn the same lessons quite a number of times. I love that somebody. Sometimes it feels like a Star Wars movie inside with all the resistance. Thanks, Charlene, Estelle, Sunmuddy, Michelle. Love you guys. Who else was there this morning? Melanie, it's good to see you. Leshna, very good to see you. Maggie, I'm not sure if you're in the background somewhere because Facebook is showing me very little. Have a beautiful day. Love you all. See you soon. Ciao, ciao.